I have the pleasure to call on Niyi Obembe, it's a senior manager. Niyi is a senior manager in the pharmaceutical industry with over 15 years expertise and experience leading and delivering global transformation projects across multiple regions of the world. So Niyi, I'm going to leave you to introduce yourself further and give your presentation. You're welcome. We can't hear you, Niyi.
Good afternoon and good evening.
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon and good evening to Mandla in South Africa. And to the guys in the US, I think it's morning time still. Good morning. Now, yeah, I've listened to everyone, and it's actually quite interesting that I come up now because I will tie up some of the topics that Mandla talked about, and also the interesting opportunities, or let me call them gaps, that were raised by Joy. And lastly, some of the Generation Z elements that Charles nicely brought into the picture. So we want to talk about the opportunities that digitalization brings to the continent, and what are the challenges. Like Esosa said, my main focus at the moment is in the pharmaceutical industry. And of course, some of you would be doctors, scientists, understanding that in the pharmaceutical industry, this is a highly regulated industry. It means that we do not just develop things and put them on the table for people to use without understanding their consequences. So in other words, patient safety is number one. And of course, the product has to have gone through a lot of rigorous tests before the product is then allowed onto the marketplace. Now, so then you might be asking yourself, if the industry is so regulated, what are then the opportunities that, let's say, you might be able to access using a digital platform? So I will now try to give you some of the practicalities of the opportunities when you're in the industry, whether you're in the pharma industry or in the insurance industry, or even just, and I say just, because it's not just, actually it's a lot of work. If you're in the industry that Charles was just talking about, and of course what Mandla already alluded to. Now, at the moment, what we see in the industry is that the customer expectation, so if you think about the pharmaceutical industry, the customer is a patient, the customer is a doctor, and the customer, of course, is also a pharmacist. So loosely, let's call them the HCPs, healthcare professionals or healthcare physicians. And this is where it also gets a little bit more interesting for the presentation by Joy. The customer expectations says, treat me like a human, respond to me quickly, be consistent across channels, tell me exactly what you stand for, speak about my passions, give me value for privacy data, and reward me for my loyalty. What do all these things mean? It means that there is a changing attitude in the customer behavior. And that attitude has some implications for the practitioners. Like I said, what I'm discussing here are how you could utilize the digital platform to enable your businesses, regardless that whether you're in the pharmaceutical industry or you're in the insurance industry, or you are selling alcohol even. Now, the implications are that you have to personalize the customer interaction. I will give some examples in a bit. You have to create what in the industry we call meaningful and relevant content. You need to reduce the time it takes between when the customer contacts you and when or how quickly you respond. Charles mentioned earlier, just to use the example Charles mentioned, and this is also relevant actually for the organization that Mandla comes from. Charles mentioned that if you have a lot of systems, that your company will have seen the effect of COVID-19 a little bit less impactful. Actually, that also creates challenges. And the challenges in the digital space are organizational silos. So in other words, you phone today MTN. MTN we can use, we have a South African, and in Nigeria we use MTN. So this should be quite a good example to use. And apologies for the guys who are not familiar with what MTN is. MTN is basically a global telecoms provider on the African continent. So let's say you phone MTN and you say to MTN today that, oh, there's something wrong with your line. And the customer sales representative says to you, well, sorry, it looks like everything is good from our own end, but I will look at talking to somebody in the IT department to see if your issues are real. Now, for you as a customer, the implications for MTN is you have phoned MTN, you are not really concerned that MTN, to use that example, has 10 or different departments. The customer sales representative that you've contacted, as far as you're concerned, should be the one dealing with all those issues. You're not supposed to deal with those. So that's one of the implications. Then, of course, one of the other topics for the implication is you need to create omni-channel for customer expectations or customer experiences. I will come to that in a minute. And also, you need to keep improving or innovating products, services, and experience. And to make everything work, you definitely must build upon trust and make transparency a priority. I will tie everything up in a minute if you just bear with me. So in today's digital economy, I said, how would you use digital solutions to power your organization? You need to think about the right side of the brain is the creative side. The left side deals with analytics. And when you think about both, you have to blend insights, the knowledge of your customer, with analytics. So on the left side, you're looking at collection and interrogating of data. You are thinking about automation, essentially AI, artificial intelligence. You are talking also in terms of optimized analytics. This is where one of the examples provided by Charles in terms of the multiples of systems you may have in your organization is really helpful. Because the more data, the more customer base you have, the more data you can interrogate, and the likelihood that your A plus or AB analysis would provide you some greater inputs. Then, of course, you need to think about how quickly can you innovate those products. And some of the, I'm using some, I guess, some jargon. It might be well known to a few, or maybe not to everyone. But here, what I'm trying to talk about acceleration is the agility. In the industry, with the onset of COVID-19, the agile methodology of going to market becomes almost, it's critical. Without that, you're soon going out of business, basically, because that gives you the possibility to quickly develop, to learn, and then to go to market. You don't want to do the traditional approach where you take 9 months, 10 months to develop a project and then go to market. With the digital economy right now, you need to go almost every 12 weeks. So it's not 8 months anymore. Now your sprints. So for the agility, we discuss in terms of sprints. Your sprints are usually 6 to 12 weeks long, not more. Now, on the right-hand side, I mentioned the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. On the right side, this is purely grounded in insights. Knowing exactly, for example, when you go into the website of the insurance provider, you want to know as an insurance provider, where on my website are the customers clicking? If you go on Google, on Amazon today, and you try to buy a pen, let's say, you see the pen that it is selling for 5 naira. You want to put the pen, you've put the pen in your shopping basket. And at the time that you've put it in your shopping basket, you suddenly see that the pen is now 10 naira and it's not 5 naira anymore. There are two things happening there. You either continue and buy that expensive pen, or you go out of that shopping basket. That journey in itself is worth $1 million because it gives you the understanding of exactly when a customer goes from I am thinking of buying to I have bought, and also gives you the chance to see across the customer journey at which point a customer is coming out. So, for example, when you see that the pen is 10 naira and you leave the shopping cart, there are analytics actually being run to see how often customers leave shopping carts uncompleted. So now you can see how using analytics, using a digital platform, you are able to understand your customer much better. Now, I also want to talk on, so then I'm still on the right-hand side. So I talk about the focus, my passion, the content, and of course, and most important, as the stories.
How long have you got, Niyi?
I will take 5 minutes, not
okay,
more.
Thank you. Yeah.
Not more. I talked earlier when I started, I talked about creating useful content, just to give examples, because on this call, we have many people from different backgrounds, and you're asking yourself, how does digital really work for me in the end? I give you one example. Please check Bombay Sapphire Gin website. Bombay Sapphire Gin website. So this is for creating useful content. Now, the name tells you that they sell gin, but actually on that website, what they do is they don't talk about gin. They talk about how to make cocktails. And therefore, that content becomes useful to the customer who actually went there to buy gin. But then what Bombay Sapphire Gin website managed to create for themselves is they have a following on Facebook of more than 1 million people. They have on Twitter close to 5,000. And on Instagram, the numbers are going up to about 25,000. So creating useful content for the customer is absolutely key. Let me use, I talked about the passion. Make it human for me. Again, I give you another example. It's all alcohol at the moment, and you're wondering why is this? Sailor Jerry Rum. Sailor Jerry Rum. Another one that you can check out. So Sailor Jerry Rum, again, it's a rum business. But what does the website do? The website talks about the interest, the human interest of Sailor Jerry Rum. What is that? It talks about tattoos. It writes about tattoos. And that is a human interest. It could be talking about tires of a car. It could be talking about whatever interests us, let's say. And by doing that, that website has more than 700,000 followers on Facebook. They have 30,000 on Twitter and almost 180 on Instagram. And the last one on human interest, which most will be aware of, particularly if you're into gaming, is Xbox. Of course, if you go into the website of Xbox, you will read all about the products of Xbox, but what they do actually is they also then talk about Boyd Multeleran. So Boyd was the guy who designed and developed Xbox. That is you adding the human interest to your products. Of course, you've gone there to buy Xbox, but now you're learning about the person who developed Xbox. And let me bring it back, and Esosa, please warn me when it's 60.
Yeah, because we need to do the Q&A. So.
Yes, just warn me when it's 60 seconds, then I can stop.
Okay.
And okay, let me then wrap up since from my own industry, and I will use that to tie up also again with Joy. In our industry, what we're doing is we are engaging the customers together with insurance companies and physicians to develop their own healthcare journey. It means that you're able to log on to the website and learn about new drugs. And you can then discuss that with your physician. It is so-called moving from the individual model to a collaborative model and an integrated model. Why is it integrated? Because at each point in time, you're able to use the digital platform to read and join a community of people who may have the same issues as you do. Perhaps it's migraine, or perhaps it's diabetics or whatever, and you're using that to learn and then to make decisions about your treatment. So in short, and that is what we then call the making it customer centric. And you can look at any of these pharmaceutical companies, you will find that today, if you're talking about any serious pharmaceutical company, you will find all these type of journeys on their websites. And on that, I think I should stop.
Thank you, Niyi. Thank you. Thank you. That was very, very interesting, insightful, and this again telling us in terms of what the customer journey is, that the customer wants, even though we're in a digital platform or industry and it's virtual, the customer still wants to be treated with respect, still wants to be treated as a special, you know. So the journey itself, you as a provider, you need to make sure that you are responding to the customer and that you are meeting the needs of the customer. And Niyi also talked about the need to create omni-channels for customer experiences. And all the speakers who have spoken today have talked about the need for innovation, the need for acceleration, and the need to be agile and flexible, because that is what it's all about. And from what Niyi said, that everything now is, you need to go every 12 weeks. Your sprints are usually 6 to 12 weeks along. So if you are thinking in terms of a digital business, you have to be agile, and you have to be flexible, and you have to be able to meet the needs of your customers. And also he talked about he gave 2 examples from the Bombay Sapphire Gin website and Sailor Jerry rum. You can look at that. This is the weekend. You can have a look at that in terms of your model and in terms of whether you want to have some drink or whatever. What is interesting, what he's saying is that your product or your offer of service, you can be very innovative and you can be very agile in terms of providing it, and it might not be just in your face, but it will still meet the need and it will generate the engagement that you need. So thank you very much, Niyi.